All right. We are rocking and rolling in the studio right now. We'll introduce him again in case you just joined it. Mr. Mike Bentz, and he is representing today our Chewelah Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Thanks for coming in early and participating in trivia. I'm so glad I remembered I invited you in early and sent Gene to check the door. He was waiting outside.
This guy calls me yesterday and said, Gene may or may not be in. Show up early. So I show up early and the door's locked.
Right.
I have the worst. So my last wife, her nickname for me was Sir Locks-a-Lot. And we all have our little quirks, right? Mine is not thinking the door's locked. So I can go out and lock the door and everything, get in the car, be ready to drive away, and I have to get out and check the door.
Check the door.
It's some weird, just, quirk that's in my brain that doesn't work quite right. One of them. One of them.
Lock phobia.
Yeah, and I check it like crazy, and I'm always locking stuff.
Right.
And we've had a situation in the station before, and I tell all the DJs, keep the door locked.
Right.
Because we have somebody that walked in one time that we didn't want here. And it was really hard to get them back out the door. So, and it is a federal facility, and you never know when somebody's unhinged about something.
That's true.
And television stations, radio stations.
I didn't lock the door when I came in.
That's all right. It's usually pretty safe in the morning, but it is a place that's a target.
Right.
And especially at night, we tell the guys, you keep the door locked.
Yep.
That's all you need is somebody comes to the door with an AK-47 and say, I'm broadcasting.
Right.
Oh, good.
Here, you can have my show. All right. So, Mike, you are here today. Of course, a lot of stuff always going on. The chamber stays so busy. Are you kind of playing catch up yourself because you took off for a couple months there?
Couple months.
I thought it was okay.
I wish.
Okay. Well, it seemed like what were you gone, about a month?
About a month, yeah. No, I'm definitely playing catch up, and it seems like, the chamber is really busy, so every time I turn around, Sandy says, did you do this? Did you do that? And I go, are you my mom? What's the deal here,
Do I need to be?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, that's one of the, I think, the positives about this chamber is there's always something going on. I mean, community-based, service-based, you name it. It really is.
Well, you're lucky because I wish I had a handler like Sandy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you ever want to volunteer somewhere and it's just to make sure somebody else does something, you could be my handler.
Yeah. I walk in when I get back to Sandy. I said, okay, is there anything I need to do? And she points over at this box. It's in there, But, I mean, it's just, I spent the money here and I spent some money there and I did this and I did that. And, and that's really what you want.
Yeah.
As long as, what I call set up the fence posts, so they stay between the fence posts. Otherwise things just don't get done. I mean, they don't, especially in a volunteer organization because everybody's busy.
Oh, yeah.
And as you probably well know, it might take 3 months to get something done. So, it's
rough.
She's a phenomenal lady.
We've been trying to, so PACA donated us some chairs that they couldn't use in the new theater. There wasn't enough of them. They couldn't get more like that. They were permanently stationary chairs. So, and it was a donation to them. So upstairs, I told them they get free announcements for the rest of the organization's life. Because upstairs, I have 50-some brand new theater chairs. I mean, brand spanking new with flip-up desktops. And we've been trying to get them installed for almost a year. Our problem is all of us are old guys. We can't, and the high school football team put them up there years ago. We can't get them down from the attic.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to hire a crew
the
of
older
guys
you
with
get,
muscles.
the more that becomes. I almost think there ought to be this, hire a high school kid or something somewhere just to do that because you get older, it's tough.
Well,
I mean, it really is.
Society makes it tough too because now you do that, and let's say one of them stumbles down your stairs. Now you got a whole new basket of trouble. So it makes it so you can't really. I mean, people still do those kind of things, and that's probably since we're a nonprofit organization and having troubles, we'll probably have to do the same thing. As volunteer groups always kind of you try to pull the troops together to get it done.
Well,
and the chamber is coming around full circle is really good at pulling the troops together.
They really are. And we can always use more. Because we need to get things done and some of the people at the chamber have been doing it for a long time, and so it's time for somebody else to step up. I mean. And that's a issue, I think, with a lot of volunteer organizations is how do you get the younger and more dynamic, I won't say more dynamic, that's not right, but more enthused, people to get involved. And I was actually just talking about that to somebody this week, and and we were at the Creative District last night, and I'll talk about that later, but basically, how do you get the people out there that really need to get involved? Because, Diane Evans is only going to be around so long. I mean,
why are you picking on Diane?
well, because she made a comment.
Did you hear that,
last night.
Diane? Did you hear that?
She made a comment last night that I thought intriguing. She goes, I've been in this community for 40 years, and I've been here 6, and I look at what she gets accomplished, and I'm thinking, if you've been doing this for 40 years, lady, go get a glass of wine or something, because it's just not easy.
She's good about it too. Like if there's an event going on and it's a public service event or whatever, she doesn't ask you what you're going to do. She tells you what.
Yeah,
you're
I call
doing.
it. She coined the phrase I now use, voluntold.
Voluntold. I like that.
You're being voluntold.
Yeah,
And I love it. I love it. She comes in before the chamber auction and she goes, so what's the radio station donating this year?
Exactly. That's how you assume the clothes from an old sales guy.
She should have sold cars.
Yeah.
You're buying this one. That's
right. Yeah, this fits.
This fits.
Great.
This is perfect
fits.
for you. No, don't
it's,
look at that
it's
one.
Soylent Green. That's going to bug me for the rest of the day. Every time I see something green.
Is that people?
Is that people? Yeah.
All right, so the Golf and Recreation Show update. I think they kind of touched on this a little one the last time.
The last time, yeah, I asked him to, and just kind of some final numbers that came in. A little over 8,000 people came through the golf side. And then they also have a recreational side too, and about another just under 6,000 people went through that. So what we ended up doing is being exposure, I guess, to the public. I'm going to guess around 10 or 12,000 people, because some of those people went to both shows. And what the chamber does is it's more of an exposure thing. It's telling the Chewelah story and things like that, but we also have little drawings and stuff because we collect email addresses so we can do promotional stuff on a consistent basis to draw people to town. And Sandy told me I think she said they got about 370 or 75 cards of people who expressed an interest. Now, some of those people are just after the gift, the drawing. And you can tell those people because they have stickers. They don't even fill out the card. They just put a sticker on it, or they have a stamp,
Oh my goodness, they literally go around with stuff like that for the free drawings.
Yeah, I've been involved in these booths for a lot of years, and that just astounds me. They're looking for the freebies,
Wow.
It's kind of like going to Costco and having 3 meals a day. I mean, kind of the same concept.
Oh, I do like doing that.
I worked for KXOY for years, and whenever we went out on like a live broadcast, there was like a couple-year period, we always showed up with like food and drink.
Oh yeah.
So people got to know that if we were having a live broadcast somewhere, there's probably going to be donuts or some kind of snack, and the same people always showed up for the free food.
That's right.
Always.
You could almost get to know them by their first name.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. Oh.
But anyway, but that
and the one lady who brought all of her kids to eat the donuts.
And that was not me. Believe it or not, it was not me.
Named Joan.
But so.
Sorry.
So what we'll do is we'll combine these with the ones we got last year, and as you know, the website's changed dramatically. And part of the website that we're working on will be a new email server, I guess, for lack of a better account, through MailChimp, which allows us to do a lot of additional things. And so those will feed in, and so we'll have Small Business Week coming up in May, which we'll talk about not today, but later. That'll be a promotional thing. It'll go out, so we'll be able to pull people into the arts and pull people into the entrepreneurs and pull people into listening to the radio station, stuff
Excellent.
like that.
All right, so it gives you a good database then for emailing people.
It does, yeah, and of course, we share a booth with the golf course, and so that makes it way more cost effective for the chamber because the way I split that, they pay a smaller portion of the booth. And Sandy was saying that as people came around, they were impressed. I mean, our booth, we've got new floor banners. I don't know if you've seen that.
We haven't.
I'll see if I can find a picture, but basically, those pull-up banners you can get. We've got one for each season, and it kind of goes into that, home for all seasons or
nice.
Season type thing. And so there's, there's skiing and there's golfing and there's fishing and, stuff like that. And they're really dynamic and they pop up. And that really was a great compliment to the golf course as far as that goes too. So it's kind of that big picture type thing.
You didn't show like pictures of fall with a bunch of people with guns, did you?
No.
Okay.
No, actually, that when we were discussing that, there is an element of people that hunt, and I used to hunt, and I understand that. I mean, but it's just not a good thing to.
It's fall. Come to Stevens County.
That's right.
But wear orange.
Wear orange. Yeah. Well, wear your fluorescent colors. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think we have enough local hunters and the ones that already come from outside the area to come hunt that, it's like, I think we're full. We have enough people with guns out in the woods running around.
I tell people this story. I was down visiting Sandy. We're working on something, and within about a half hour, 2 people came in and wanted to know about turkeys, hunting turkeys.
Wow.
And one of them was not from around here. I can't remember where they're from, but the other one is literally just over Flower Trail, down in the Ponderay. And, Sandy just goes into this mode. Well, here's a map. And the last I heard that, there's a congregation of turkeys here and there. And I'm thinking, just give them my dang home address. Oh, no, I'm in the city. They can't shoot stuff in the city. Because I had like 30 of them, it was just, they're starting to come out right now, I can tell you.
I'd make, I thought I might get in trouble, but I wanted to put a bumper sticker on my car. It says, wild turkeys, kill them all, let God sort them out.
You'd get in trouble.
Probably.
I can guarantee that.
I hate those darn turkeys. And it always surprised me that became a hunting thing and people were into it. Have you ever eaten one of our wild turkeys?
I haven't, but a good friend of mine up San Canyon has, and he says it's like chewing on a piece of leather.
I challenge anyone to make it taste good. It is, and I'm sorry to my friend that cooked some and gave me some. If he's listening, it was one of the worst things I've ever put in my mouth.
Well,
and I love turkey.
Yeah,
it was not turkey.
It's lean. If you want to be on a lean diet.
I'd say that's some kind of unhealthy fat.
Well, pretty much wild food is going to be lean.
Yeah.
It's all of our modern food supply has gotten very fatty.
And I could be picky too because I'm mostly chemicalized.
You are picky.
So I've never really enjoyed. Now I've had some venison that I've really liked before, but like eating bear and stuff like that, it does. I'm not used to that gamey stuff.
And see, I love bear. Yeah,
really?
I love bear and moose and mountain lion's pretty good. It's a sweet meat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mountain lion.
Snake is pretty good too. Rattlesnake is pretty good.
How far up in the hills do you live?
Well, all of a sudden I'm worried about my cat.
Yeah, I was going to say, you better taste that soup before you. What's in it?
That soup is perfect. I've actually had mountain lion soup. Yeah.
Wow.
Or stew, actually. It was quite good.
Stop, Gene. Stop. Just stop.
I was going to say.
Stop now.
I might go to the Oasis and get a burger here pretty quick.
She actually was approached to be on a survival show.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I was.
Yep. She was actually approached.
Oh,
I turned it down.
Well, I was listening to your broadcast this morning. You were talking about turning your car around.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I wonder if this lady was on James Bond. That's a James Bond move.
But
you hear the music in the background as she takes off, but it's a minivan.
Yeah, it's a minivan. But see, that's what makes it even more cool. It's like, dude, I can do this in a minivan.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, you got to love that kind of stuff. We get off topic so easy here.
So anyway, the golf show was a really, really, it was great exposure. Weather, was a little dicey. Initially, I wasn't here. The weather was beautiful where I was, but that drove people to it because what else were they going to do out when it was 20 below zero with the wind chill?
Yeah.
So they go inside. And it's well promoted. The guy's done it a long, long time that puts the promotion together on it. And so it was, it was a good thing for the chamber. So we're going to be in it next year. I've already put the deposit down and, just keep building it, so.
We have something else coming up right away, too.
We do.
Yes, we are just under 2 weeks away, aren't we?
Under 2 weeks away. We have the 7th annual BIG, because it says so on the flyer.
Big
Home and Garden Show on March 23rd at Guess Elementary from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. There again, Sandy has done a great job on getting vendors and all kinds of things. So one of the things they're doing a little bit different this year is they're having a coloring contest. And part of that contest, see if Scott can stay within the lines.
Yeah.
But Richmond Logging has sponsored a coloring contest this year, so that I think is going to be a lot of fun. And of course, in the Kiwanis and the Lions are going to be there and making the burgers and things like that. And we're prize giveaways on a consistent basis, door prizes, and I don't want to give away some of the door prizes, but some of them I've looked at and I says these need to be in the auction. I mean, they're nice door prizes.
Wow.
Are you not mentioning the big one that I put on your ad anyways? That the first 49 people?
The first 49 people, get the ski, the from 49 degrees, get a pass to go skiing. Yes.
First 49 people.
Yeah, first
ski
40. Pass. Yeah, I'm looking at this. 49
wow.
attendees. Get
this is going to be like Walmart at Christmas.
Yeah. First 250 attendees get a goodie bag with. I know, the Rusty Putter is going to have some coupons in there. Buy one entree, get the other one of equal or less value at 50% off.
Are you worried about a stampede?
A stampede?
I mean, is this something that we should be concerned about, a stampede of people coming through the doors?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No.
Are they going to be camping at the steps, at the doors?
Well, we would hope that.
Yeah.
I bet most of the people that live in Chewelah that love to ski have season passes. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, 49 and we put a little promotional together late last fall, kind of the same thing. And what I discovered was they may have a season pass, but their kids don't, or their parent doesn't, or their cousin doesn't, or because we gave away, I don't know, for about 5 weeks, just to encourage people to come up and play golf in October. And the people that won it, I've talked to two of them anyway, and they were just ecstatic. And they were they live here. They're season pass holders. But, the kid thing came up. Said, hey, I'll take my oldest son or whatever. So there's ways that they really are a big positive. And then if you take a look at the vendors, it's the who's who of Chewelah type thing. It's in fact, it was funny because I won't mention their name, but one of the vendors had decided maybe they didn't want to be there this year. And Sandy says they called literally last week after they saw the vendor list. Well, why aren't we on this?
Did you call me?
Did you call me? Yeah. That type of thing. So we got them in there. It's completely sold out.
It is. I have to share a booth with Ryan Moore.
Oh.
You know what that's going to be like?
I know it's going to,
Talk.
Yeah. Between the two of them, nobody will be,
But he might bring some libations.
You never know, Mr. Scotch. I don't think they allow Scotch.
No, probably not.
No. This is an elementary school. Don't they have a big sign out there? No alcohol, drugs, guns, et cetera, et cetera.
I was just trying to make it sound more fun, so
She just keeps it in her purse.
But, and I tell people one of the things when Loretta and I first moved here, was to go to the Home and Garden Show because we'd been coming here off and on for a lot of years, but there's a difference between visiting and living here, and that exposed us to some of the people we didn't know existed. And frankly, a couple of them we ended up hiring to do some things we needed done around the house, and that's the whole purpose of the vendors too. They're there to generate business, for the exposure and those types of things, and so
it's a great spot for them too because I remember at the end of it I'd interviewed a few vendors. I think it was year before last,
right?
And I was talking to one of them afterwards, and he goes, "I got 18 solid leads today." He goes, "If I can land 80% of those," he goes, "my summer's set."
Yeah.
So it's a good spot for them.
It's a good spot for them. And most of the people right now are really busy. Especially the skilled trades type people are really busy. So this is a great way for people to get them, to know them. They size up the size of the job. They figure they can fit it in. I had one where I had a little work done in the bathroom, but it was a small job. So, when you do a small job like that, you're kind of delegated to a certain point in time. And so I started talking to the guy, and he says, if I can get one of my guys up there between jobs, he said, would you look at it? And I said, sure. Stuff like that. I kid Paul Hartel over here because I met them at the first Home and Garden Show, and I think I bought a big boy toy every year since then. So that's, to me, it's worth it. And frankly, it's a fundraiser for the chamber. And I can tell you that we got a quote unquote for the golf course, the big booth, which is $80. The big booth at the golf show in Spokane is $1,800.
Wow.
And so it tells you what kind of a bargain it is.
Wow.
It really is a super bargain.
Well, I just didn't think of that if you're a contractor and you come in and you line up 10 jobs
Yeah.
or, 10
Yeah,
good
your
leads.
payback on the small bit, well, they're 50 and 80, and so your payback is, other than your time, is just phenomenal. Typical Chewelah thing, very cost effective, very quality people. If you look down through the list, I mean, you got, I know Ryan's on there, and I was going to say quality, but, but anyway, but, you got SETI's there. You've got Stevens County Conservation, Stevens County Emergency. If you've never met Jim Caruso, I'm sure he'll be there. I mean, he's a great guy to talk to about the emergency services and how to contact them
and what to do, protect your lands, all that kind of stuff.
Bellevue General Contractors. Mike Bellevue's going to be there. I mean, I'm
trying to get him in on the radio. I want to talk to him about all these new buildings downtown.
Okay.
And how good it looks.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna. I'll tell you what I do. I'll talk to him.
I've already brought it up to him. We're just trying to find a date.
You're gonna find a date. Yeah, because he'd be a great guy. I mean, I met him, I don't know, several years ago. We were having some painting done in the house because we had fairly high ceilings. My wife won't let me up on a ladder more than 2 feet anymore. And
oh boy!
And so
I heard the story of why. So
yeah. so Mike and his crew came in and they just did a phenomenal job in the work we wanted to get done. Not only that, it was on time, it was good work, and it was reasonably priced. Right. And he's just a quality guy. And so since then, we visited on a variety of different things. But, yeah, he'd be a good guest, really good guest.
Yeah.
So,
well, I've lived here off and on since 1978.
Right.
And I'll give him kudos. I think hasn't been a person, and he probably takes a little heat for being from outside the Chewelah area, because
right.
you probably ran into some of that.
Same
sometimes
thing,
when you're the new guy, people kind of look at you out of you one eye until they got you figured out.
Yeah.
And but I can say, since I've been here in 1978, I can't think of any one person that has done more to change the face of Chewelah than him.
And it's
our appearance.
It's a passionate. I mean,
it
really
is.
Yeah.
And I give the other, and I also, it's, I know Dan McRae had something to do with it, but Hartel's and Systech Mechanical on the side of town, and then whoever, I think it was after Ernie Smith passed away, that cleaned up where the elevator was there. That kind of happened. Yeah. Hartel's moved in there. Right. Systech bought that building and remodeled it, and that entrance into town became beautiful. Or at least appealing, not a standout of like, oh my gosh, this town's falling down. Yeah, I mean, that was your first impression when you came into Chewelah.
Well, and
that changed. And now our main street, I mean, there's some buildings there that you can tell they're from the turn of the century, and they looked in rough shape. And now, I mean, it's really dressed up town.
Yeah. And it takes time. I mean, time and money to do that. But as the town's been growing, I mean, think of all the new businesses over the last couple of years that have come in. Oh, yeah. And one of the individuals at the Creative District last night was Tim Nielsen, and he made a comment that I circled on because we did this big chart, and he said Chewelah needs to continue to look at being the beacon for the entrepreneur. And I'm thinking, the exercise last night was a whole lot of different things that Chewelah needs to work towards in the Creative District, but that's the one thing that just jumped out at me, because that type of business, the KCHWs of the world, or the gallery, are the type of business that will give you growth but not overgrowth, because they're entrepreneurial driven. So it's not like bringing in a large manufacturing facility.
And nobody wants that.
Which nobody really wants.
We'd like to have like an abundance of jobs, but then at the same time, when you say factory, everybody like cowers.
Right.
But we're always talking about let's bring more jobs in, but then when the word comes up, well, what if we had,
Yeah, and I've always had this theory in business that no more than 10% of your revenue ever should come from any one particular source, because you expose yourself to economic upturns and downturns. And Chewelah experienced that between the closure of Addy and the closure of the I can never say it, magnesite.
There's the magnesite plant and then Alcoa.
Yeah.
And then maybe to a little bit when the Columbia Coat Factory closed down.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, and so they had all their eggs in kind of one basket, whereas this new focus on growth is on the smaller entrepreneurial, type of a business, you're diversifying your asset base. You're diversifying your income base. You're diversifying. I mean, and so I walked away with that last night thinking, I think it's going to help develop the mission statement. And so I'm getting off topic here, but that's what the Home and Garden Show is all about. These people that are in the Home and Garden Show are the beacons, if you think about it. I mean, good, solid individuals. They're participative with the community, both from a business standpoint and I think from a community or a public standpoint, and well diversified. I mean, you look at this list, it goes anywhere from financial services to construction.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about a small town, I think, when you have like these, we have quite a few contractors around the area.
Right.
The nice thing about it, I think, in a small town, if one of them were to say, we're not a good contractor, they're not going to last very long.
No.
Because it is a small town.
No,
so when you go to this, I mean, you can feel confident that the people that are there representing different services know what they're doing, because you can't make it, Right. Lynn wouldn't have been selling carpet in Chewelah for 20 years, over 20 years, if he wasn't doing a good job.
Right.
So it tends to wash out the ones that should be washed out.
The people that you're going to see at the Home and Garden Show are passionate and proud of what they do. And anytime you get that, it's a win. I mean, all of a sudden the pricing is not as important. Things like that, because you're buying the person. That type of thing. So yeah, I think the Home and Garden Show, just by virtue of the fact this is the 7th year, shows sustainability. It sells out almost immediately. Which also gives it credibility. Mm-hmm. Whether the weather cooperates or doesn't cooperate, I don't know what the head count as far as people showing up, but the years I've been to it, it's been busy. I mean,
I've been to it a lot of years, and it's usually a miserable day, but it doesn't stop people from coming out. They used to put me right by the door when I came in. So,
I remember that.
Oh, was it miserably
it was
cold?
cold.
Oh, yeah.
and I don't know, it was a few years ago. I said, you know what? You got to give me a booth space like everybody else, because I'm too old to sit by the door.
Yeah. Every time that door opened, it was just like this cold breeze. Oh, burr.
Right.
Oh, burr.
Right.
Not again.
Exactly.
Oh, burr.
And it's like the radio people, they tried to get us up front, but then they put us off to the side.
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. All right, so we're looking at Saturday the 23rd, correct?
23rd.
10 to 3, Guess Elementary, right here in the big city of Chewelah, Washington.
That's right. Good parking.
Good,
Don't
lots
have
of
to worry
parking.
about lots of
not at all.
parking. I'm sure there'll be, Hartell will have some toys out there so you can take a look at them.
yeah.
And
You'll be out there playing with the toys, right?
No, they don't let you play with them, unfortunately.
You'll be drooling then.
You'll be drooling, yeah.
Just as a side note, that if you get some more big boy toys and you're running out of room, I do have storage available in Kettle Falls.
You do, huh?
Yeah, especially if you happen to have a side-by-side or a four-wheeler. Okay. Just saying, I would keep it totally safe for you.
You would keep it totally
Nothing's
safe?
ever been stolen from my yard.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind.
All right.
And he would keep it in good running order, too. Right?
Yes, I would test it regularly.
Yeah. Make sure the battery's charged.
Yeah.
Right.
The tires are aired.
Still can jump.
Still can jump. Yeah. The shocks work. Things like that.
Shocks are fine.
Yeah.
Tires iffy. Yeah. All right. You want to give us a wrap up for this with giving us kind of an update of the creative district and what's happening there?
You bet.
Real quick too. One thing for you, we had Silas from the Carpe on the air, and it was our very first YouTube live broadcast with him, and we had 30 people watching his interview on YouTube. Great. So that was very cool, and that's really exciting news too. And if you want to check that out, since you were gone, it's on YouTube. You can look up the interview.
I will actually. Yeah, I saw some email traffic about how great it was.
Good.
Good. And I missed the Carpe meeting because I was gone, and there was the notes from the meeting talked about it a lot. So yeah, I would definitely do
if
that.
people just are going, what are they talking about? It's Chewelah Area Recreation Planning Effort. I always want to say endeavor.
Effort. Yeah.
Effort.
Yeah, and call it Carpe, not Carp.
Carp? Okay. Did I say carp?
No.
Okay, I thought I said carpe.
No.
It's Carpe, as in Carpe Diem.
Carpe,
Seize the
yeah.
day.
Well, the first time I said they had this crappy plan, and then they said, no, Carpe, and I was like, oh, I get it.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a bad joke.
Okay.
All right. So Creative District, what's going on? This is exciting too. This is another thing that could help with tourism
absolutely.
in Chewelah.
We're getting closer. You know, you have to develop a plan before you can go to the state and be designated as a creating district. On March 4th, Bud and Diane Evans and Lynn Cassidy went to a meeting in Olympia, or outside of Olympia, for the Washington State Arts Commission. And what that did was a couple of things. First of all, it solidified that we're going the right direction. And all this work that's kind of going behind the scenes, it seems like it's going nowhere, is coming together. The other thing is there's 10 creative districts being applied for in the state of Washington. Only 2 are on the east side. The other one's Pullman. There's only one that's been appointed, and that's Edmonds, but Edmonds has a full-time economic development department that's funded, you know, and I don't know how long it's been since you've been to Edmonds, but its downtown core is already, and has been for years, a creative district.
Oh, wow.
You know, okay. And so they've been approved. You know, guess who the next person that's the closest to getting approved is?
Chewelah?
Chewelah.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Getting on top of it.
Yeah, Diane said that we're about 80% there. And in fact, the comment was made, we're already a creative district, we just don't know it. And so last night, what we did is we made a presentation that Deborah Hansen did, you know, from WSU, and she does this thing called a mapping exercise, which basically you look at the creative district and then you work in different directions. Like I said, okay, I started out saying, you know, what have you learned this? Well, I've learned the community assets. I've learned how the chamber can be involved. When we redeveloped the website for the chamber, the creative district, because of my awareness, became part of the focus inside of that for the tourism and the small business and stuff like that, because I didn't know it existed. And we walked away last night with the ability, I believe now, to establish the vision, the mission, and then what the values or the goals are. Because we need to get that before we get to the state and ask for the designation. I'm meeting Diane next week. We're going to work on a timeline to try to figure out, you know, getting it done, because it's like anything, if you don't put an ending date on it, it'll drag on for the next couple of years.
Sure. And if we're that close, wrap it up.
Yeah, it's exciting. Just after I got back, we got what we call the collaborative partners together, and the collaborative partners are things like PACA and community celebrations, the chamber, the city, the school district, and I can never get it right, the Chautauqua Film Festival, I think is what they go by.
And we wanted to be a part of that. I'm just too tapped.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because there's plenty now. And what I asked everybody to do before I left on the collaborative partners is, okay, I want you to bring me an inventory of assets. And what I mean by that, or what are you bringing to the table? What are you doing? And I tell you, it's a pretty impressive list. When you start looking at the PACA and everything they do, you look at the chamber and everything they do, you look at TED and everything they do. I mean, it's a pretty impressive list of inventory assets. And so what the creative district will do is it'll take this inventory and centralize it, to focus it. And with that, then, you know, we potentially got the ability to go out and get a little bit of money. I mean, it's grant funded on one side, and I
was going to ask that if that designation comes with any state money.
It does, but it's matching funds. And
so you've got to raise the other part yourself.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not a lot. I mean, but it's waiting to get started and help build the infrastructure, so then you can become real, I guess.
Do you think that will help us in searching our own grants too? The fact that we are already a creative district. Let's say I'm going to go get a grant because the Historical Society wants me to do a whole bunch more recording, and I want to get a grant to offset the fees that we're going to take that, and they're part of the creative district. And does it kind of encompass the whole town?
It will. It'll encompass the whole town. So basically, to use your example on the KCHW, if you wanted, the museum is a component of that. And so if you go into the museum, and the museum will have all of the groundwork done as far as why it qualifies for a grant, what people are looking for that give the grant money is not so much what's happening today, but what's happening into the future. I mean, I don't want to give you a Band-Aid, you know, I want to give you sustenance. I want to give you sustainability over a period of time. So then you'll be able to grab onto that or a variety of other ones and then bring it back into you saying, okay, this is what KCHW will do to support this, you know, and build your grant funding around that or around the creative district.
We really need a full-time grant writer here, as probably the chamber does too. Every nonprofit can use it, but a lot of radio stations, you know, we're producing some shows in-house now.
Right.
They go out and get funding to offset those costs.
Right.
So I mean, people in Chewelah are really good about it. When one of the nonprofit groups comes and says, we want to do this project, you know, we need this recorded, we need this video, we need this audio or whatever,
right.
and we do it for them, and we love to, and we do it for free. But it would be great if we had a little extra spot there where we can, because most public radio stations go out and get a grant for each show to offset the cost that you endure for producing the show, and it's Chewelah, we don't do that.
Well, well, and you've got a limited, your well is pretty limited.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and it's spread a lot of different directions. So you got to start looking outside that, whether it's private foundations, whether it's, you know, some kind of government money, whether it's, you know, a corporate arm that's got a philanthropic side. I mean, you've got to start looking beyond that to grow, because you can only go to the Mikes of the world and ask for a check so much. I mean, that at some point it's just not there. I mean, it's really what it ends up being.
And it's like I know PACA got a grant from the Inland Northwest Coalition. The radio station got a $30,000 grant from the Inland Northwest Coalition and built the tower site, or built our shed on the tower site and put up the antennas and stuff. So and once they're not going to give you money again. And that's like the big one in Spokane. I mean, they do around $600,000 in donations every 6 months to nonprofits throughout the Eastern Washington.
Right.
It's they're amazing, the amount of money we rolled over. And when the one that we got, I practically fainted when I got onto their website and saw the list of people they'd given money to, $30,000 at a time. You know, there were some people that asked for 10 and stuff, but it was amazing to see the list of organizations that they help. But you got your help once you're done. So where else are you going to go?
Yeah, and so the creative district, I think, will help a lot of things, you know. And when I got done last night, I'm looking at this. Basically, it was a big wall map, you know, put some paper on a wall and start in the center, and then Deborah basically took it and pushed it out, how it leverages here and leverage that. And when I got done last night, or they got done, or we got done last night, I guess, what impressed me was how big it is. You know, and there were I think I counted 23 people there last night, 24 people that came out at 5:30 at night in literally a snowstorm to figure out okay, we're getting close now. How do we support this?
Excellent.
And that in itself is impressive. I mean, if you think about it, because there's a heart and a desire and what I call a soul of getting this completed. You know, it's almost a living being. You know, you just got to get it rolling, and I think we're getting close. You know, and coming with Bud and Diane and Lynn came back with, we're definitely getting close from my perspective. And it was mentioned last night that you know, you look at the size of Chewelah, which I was corrected the other day. It's no longer 2,600; it's 2,601.
Oh.
The official, Shelley Stevens corrected me.
And one.
Yeah, so it must be another
I thought we
kid.
were still around 1800.
It wasn't me. I live outside of the city limits. So
it was it's 2,601, the last official.
I was always thinking it was people always around town. I was still saying 1800, but I suppose when they annexed the Gulf Station, we got like 1,000 more people, right?
I've been hearing 2,600
I don't know
for a
about
long
1,000,
time.
but you know.
I mean the upper part there.
The upper part,
the upper part.
Yeah.
Where you guys all live in Gulf.
Yeah. Well, some of us.
So I imagine that but that was annexed. I'm sure that was a real bump in population to the city of Chewelah. So I'm still sitting around thinking 1800, but you don't.
It's
the
right
golf
at
course.
2,600, and basically,
And
it's by far the smallest city that has applied, and so the state of Washington Arts Commission is pretty excited because
they're going wow.
Because if you look at, you know, it's really not a competition, because you just apply for it and you get the money. But if you look at the other people that are applying, they're towns that have considerably larger population bases
and economic base
and everything else. And so So, if you get this little tiny Chewelah that's got all this stuff happening, and they can get it done, it's like a feather in their cap. If they can get it to work in this environment, then they can, in my opinion, leverage and say, okay, how come Spokane isn't doing this? How come Moses Lake isn't doing this? How come, et cetera, et cetera.
It's because Chewelah's unique, and they got it going on, and we've got a very vibrant retired community.
Right.
And local business owners that have hung out after they're retired, and local teachers that have hung out after they're retired, and they're all getting busy doing good things. It's awesome.
And one of the challenges, of course, is getting younger families to move here. And, and I don't know if you knew this, but Paul Buick, my F&B manager, bought a restaurant in Spokane, so he's moved on. So we did a search, and we just hired a new F&B manager. And one of the questions, because he was hired while I was gone, so I didn't meet him until I got back, and one of my questions was, why here? And he says, he grew up in Billings, Montana, and worked there primarily, then went to Boise for several years, and then went to Coeur d'Alene, and they wanted to find a community that they could raise their 2 girls up in that was smaller. And I said, really? Okay, that's the type of person you want to attract. Somebody's got a great skill set, somebody that can plug and create value almost immediately. His wife does something with the school systems, and I can't remember what he said it was, but it's like maybe she's like a substitute teacher, that type of thing. But he wants to move someplace where he feels comfortable that his 2 girls can grow up in an environment that's the environment they want them to grow up in. And
nice.
Chewelah was their pick. He said when it popped up on the search engine that he was looking at, he's not going to move here until after kids are out of school. So this guy's going to be commuting, 200 miles a day?
So when I moved back to Chewelah, we were like, okay, do we want the girls going to high school in Chicago?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move back to Chewelah.
Right. That's a no-brainer.
See, and I was kind of the opposite. One of the reasons we moved to the Seattle area, or Kirkland, was we wanted our kids to go from Montana to a larger demographic.
For that experience?
For the experience, and like I tell people, the elementary school that my kids went to had 17 different languages being spoke within the school. Well, they moved back to Montana, but that experience was just unreal, to go back and be able to relate to different cultures and relate to different backgrounds and relate to, those types of things. And so I was kind of the opposite direction. But in today's world, because that was, 15, 20 years ago, I'm not sure I'd do that.
That's a big step, right?
That's a big step, yeah, exactly.
Right.
But anyway, so the Creative District is cooking along really, really well.
That's
I think
exciting.
You're going to start hearing some pretty good stuff. I think what we'll probably do in a month or so is we'll get Diane in here with me, and so we can really bring it up to speed.
I'd like that, especially as we're making as things kind of come into focus with it, and we really know where we are. That'd be a great interview. And thank you and Diane Evans for working on that. That's a lot of other people are involved in it.
A lot of people are involved.
But I think it's a great thing for Chewelah, and it's just another feather in our cap.
Well, it is, and like I say, if nothing else. Even if it doesn't happen for some reason, now we have a centralized focus, and one of the things that came out of the meeting with the collaborative partners a couple of weeks ago was, if nothing else, maybe we'll be not stepping on top of each other, so that if PACA's doing this and the brewery's doing that, they're not on the same night. They're not on, those types of things.
So what I've found, though, is a lot of our venues and shows, because I've been worried about that, where we've needed to we need to have a fundraising concert right now, and I've got some trying to coordinate dates. It's tough because you got 3 bands and trying to get a date where they can all 3 play for you, and trying to put that together can kind of get a little frustrating.
Oh, it is.
But when it comes off, and I've had them happen when there's another event going in town, and I think it was a play, but you kind of figure, the plays, they usually do maybe 60 seats, on a night or whatever. I've got 60 seats too.
Yeah.
But that's only getting 120 people out of the house on a Saturday night out of 2,600, and it usually works. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get and you don't want to steal for another one, but like I looked at everything for the next 30 days, where can I do a show, and there was something on every Friday and Saturday. I mean, I'm going to have to compete with something.
This is one busy town.
It is.
I mean, there's no argument with that.
And we have maybe, I think, if I went back and you looked at the community calendar and tried to find a weekend where anything happens, I bet you it's under 4. So when people say, oh, or especially the kids, there's nothing to do around here. Well, maybe there's nothing to do for you, but there's plenty to do for me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've pointed out a couple times. I think we could do more. We're doing really great with arts and culture in our little town. I mean, it's amazing. I think, and I've said it before on the radio, and I'm not pointing the finger at anybody or picking. I just think in the back of our heads, we're doing really good on anything, but what we keep forgetting about is our kids.
Yeah.
We're not doing enough for our kids.
I think we're working that direction. I mean, I'll put a kudo out for Jason and Josh. You know, they did a thing called Snag Golf at the elementary school. And I don't know if you saw the write-up in the paper and stuff.
It went really well. We talked about it on the radio before it happened.
Yeah, and it did. They had, I don't know, I think Jason said they had like 65 kids that were participating. It was a PE class for a week, basically. Great participation on volunteers. They had, you know, him and Josh and Christy and Dave Tupek, I believe, were basically teaching these kids the game of golf, you know, and it does. It's you know, hand-to-eye coordination, it's integrity, it's playing by the rules, I mean, those types of things. And in fact, next year they want to expand it to more grades, you know, and that's, I mean, those are the types of things that I think are starting to happen. And I'm more exposed on the golf course side, but, you know, like Jason pointed out, I think in the paper, you know, the golf course provides free golf clubs to kids that want to come and play with adults. We won't let them out on the course by themselves. We do the camp, you know, in the middle of the summer, you know, for a week. And it's reasonably priced and everything is provided, you know, and we don't turn any kids away. So, if, you know, there's a kid that's economically challenged in one form or another, you know, as long as they show up with a parent so we know it's real, then, you know, we'll take care of them. I mean, that type of thing.
Nice.
And
cool.
all kids under 17 play for free on the 9-hole course as long as they're with an adult. I mean, and so I mean, there's things like that I think that are happening all over. One of the things that came out last night, Sharon Lugwood made a comment because there was a lot of things up there, like they used to do Potter's classes and they used to do adult education classes and things like that, and they all fizzled out over about 3 years. And she said, you know, our problem is not finding things that we can do where people can engage. Our problem is sustainability, you know, and that's true because, I mean, you know, you get somebody in there that's dynamic and they really want to make this and they have the passion to make this happen, but there's no transfer of power. There's no succession plan, you know, and what the creative district will do will help build that succession plan because it becomes part of a larger integral type thing. So
we're working on one of those. We don't have one.
You don't have one. Well, I tell you.
I just look at everyone and say, keep me alive.
Yeah. Well, and if it makes you feel better, you're not the norm. You're not out of the norm. I mean, most businesses don't have a succession plan. Most, you know, service organizations don't have a succession plan. Most, I mean, you know, because they start, you know, it's the old, 90-10 rule, you know, 90% of the work gets done by 10% of the people, and those 10% of the people, after a period of time, just get burned out.
I've got a unique control feature, I guess, is because, not trying to toot my own horn or anything like that, but no one else understands the wiring in here and what I've done.
That's right. That's
you are so right.
Built-in security.
It's like I don't get paid, but it is a form of job security because
that's right.
and that's what the board has brought it up several times, and we have a plan for an operations manual so that if something did happen with me, to me, that the board can make the decision to you know, hopefully our finances were good enough and okay, we can hire someone to come in because and not trying to, but it is a unique skill set, and I only know of two other people, and they're both retired, you know, and elderly, that could probably come in and figure out what I've done to make this all work.
Okay.
And I am not an engineer, so I've done it you know, I've cut corners and done it like a layman. I mean, if a radio station engineer from, say, KXOY in Spokane walked in here and looked what I'd done, they'd probably hit me. You know,
but it works.
Yeah, but
That's right.
but I never. This has been a whole new challenge for me because I never had any engineering experience, and I got real lucky because there's someone in Chewelah who while I begged them to be our station engineer, I did not want to. They help us every time we need it.
Yeah,
and always takes my calls and answers my questions.
Those are the type of people that, you know, and you know, the more of those you have, the better off you are. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean,
it's a resource pool. It really is. And it's amazing that I could, when the government came to me and said, you need to test the entire building for radiation, you know, for when the tower's on here like we are now at low power. And I called him up and I said, how am I going to do this? I doubt there's even a company that can test radiation in the building in Spokane. How am I going to make this happen? He goes, oh, I got the equipment to do that. And I'm like, no way.
Exactly.
You know, it's like a guy here in Chewelah had the equipment to test radiation in my building. Great. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. You know, how do you get that lucky? I'm thinking I'm going to have to fly someone in from Seattle, and you know, it's going to be this big expense. And he just pulls up in his Explorer and opens the hatch and starts walking in with gear and antennas. You know, it's awesome.
Well, and that's the thing I've discovered over the last 6 years I've been here is the depth of people with knowledge to help is just unreal.
It is.
I mean, you know, and a lot of it are because people like me that have kind of gone out in the world, done some things, and came back. And so they have that wisdom factor built into it. You know, well, this is, you know, we did this way, or we did that way, or whatever it happens to be. And you know, and so that's a well of knowledge that you can't put a price on. You really can't.
It's awesome.
But you need to figure out who they are.
Right. Well, you know, it's like I don't know if people know that we have a guy, you know, that lives near town that used to work for NASA, and he was a rocket scientist. Yeah. You know, it's like, how many people know that unless you happen to stumble across them?
I asked you not to let that out.
It's not you, Scott.
Oh, man.
But, you know, those are like these wealth of information that you don't realize, you know, that they're there. And he's part of the retired community. So you're like, wait, we have a NASA scientist living in Chewelah? Yeah. Really? You know, wow,
we have a NASA scientist who is a graduate of JHS.
Really?
And doctor. I can't legally say his last name. I went to school with his name. And Aaron, I think it was his freshman. He was the smartest kid in the class of 1984. Mm-hmm. And I think his first year of college, NASA comes in and picks him up. And one day I was like hunting him down. It was like before Facebook. I'd lost touch with him, and I did an internet search and found him. And it's like the Jet Propulsion Laboratory or something, you know. And I sent him an email, and he comes back with this, and he goes, "Dude, you can't email me at this place.
That's right.
I don't know how you." And he's like, in his email, he's like, "I don't know how you found this email and found me, but this is not okay." And I was like, "Dude, I did an internet search."
And you're on the internet.
He's like, "Really?"
Exactly.
Wow.
And got his private email from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And I said, "Well, apparently you filled out something online you shouldn't have."
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Because you got found.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Chewelah, awesome. There's a lot of people, and it's great that everybody comes out to help. So we covered. I want to come full circle on this. You gave us the update on the Golf and Recreation show. That was awesome. The Creative District progress is rolling really well. Right. And the next big deal for you is Home and Garden Show on the 23rd, brought to you by the Chewelah Chamber of Commerce.
And we're working on some things in April. We're going to have a counterfeit money class in April.
Wow.
You know,
we have had problems with that around Chewelah. Yeah. People handing out counterfeit bills.
Norm Loretta at the casino, because they, you know, for obvious reasons they do that. They have Secret Service come in and do that. That's who does that. And so he made that offer, and my sign-up list has got 30 people on it, you know, small business people that would like to have a class on, you know, basically not how to counterfeit, but how to recognize counterfeit.
Great.
Wow.
I mean, we got that coming up. We've
never had a problem with that in donations.
I was talking to John.
Knock on wood.
On wood.
John Grumback the other day, you know, because he works out at is it Hico or Hico?
Hico.
One day. And he says, I had some lady come in and try to pay for her gas with Monopoly money. And it says it's got Monopoly on it.
Wow.
But yeah, we've got that. We've got Small Business Week coming up the week of May 5th, I believe. We've already bookended it because we have the citywide garage sale on one end and the opening of the farmers market's going to be in the other end. So we're going to build maybe KCHW would be like a featured type thing that week at some point.
Is citywide yard sale like right that first Saturday in May?
It's May 4th. Yeah.
So you've been gone.
Right.
We are rolling out Chewelah's Got Talent again this year.
Okay.
And it is happening on May the 4th. So
Okay.
if you would wish to try out, then we say to you, May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
We haven't got we just finished up getting our last sponsors, and here's what's in the past, businesses have sponsored it, and I kind of came up with a way to redo the sponsorships that would make it easier for the radio station but more expensive for whoever sponsored it.
Right.
I didn't get a really good response because it was too expensive, and we were looking kind of iffy, and I've had 4 families step forward and each donate the prize money. Dr. Paul Larson and his family,
Okay.
Bud and Diane Evans, Dean and Carrie Hayden, and then Gino and Sharon Ludwig, all put up the prize money
Really? Good for them.
for
Super.
Chewelah's Got Talent this year. We have $200 in fees that it costs us to do it, and the other $1,400 is prize money, and it came for us to do the show came from those 4
Really?
families.
Well,
Just another example of how cool Chewelah is.
That is, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
2 of these families, you take like the Larsons and the Haydens, they've had kids in these shows before, so
Right.
they know how fun they are and how much the kids enjoy to them, and
Right.
it melted my heart that they turn around and say, hey, we want this to happen again for
Right.
other
Yep.
kids,
Yeah.
and we're going to pony up the cash to help you
Well,
do
and that's that pay it forward concept. I
it
mean,
is.
That's,
It's just
that's the way I
it gives
look
me
at it.
goosebumps when
Yeah.
stuff like that
Yeah.
happens. It really
Absolutely.
does. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. So lots of things going on. I mean,
Always.
You know, always. It was funny at the last chamber meeting was the first one I'd been to, and it wasn't a lot on the agenda. And they get to me, you know, because I've got the EDC, and I didn't have really anything to say yet because we hadn't had a meeting. And Evan Schlock goes, "Well, this is going to be a short meeting. Mike's keeping his mouth shut." But
Ouch.
you know, but no, it wasn't an ouch. It was just that there's a lot of things going on, and it's not me. It's just I'm kind of the reporter, you know. And so, but this next meeting, there's a lot going on. 'Cause
Well,
I got a list of stuff. So
You are a talker because our interviews usually last 30 minutes, and let's see, we started at 8, and it is 8:59.
Ooh,
KCHW
and I gotta go see
Chewelah.
Sandy.
All right. Real quick before we let you go, thanks for everything you do. All right, it's
You're
great to
welcome.
have you back from your little summer, your winter
Right.
vacation.
Yeah.
Summer and winter vacation.
Summer and winter.
The one question is, are we still sledding and stuff up
Yes,
at the
we are.
golf course? Because let's give
Actually-
that a plug, because I think so many people still don't know they got a great little escape there.
and
Snowshoeing.
Snowshoeing, sledding, and cross-country skiing. It's not groomed. We didn't get to that this year. There is a map if you stop by the Rusty Putter where we'd like to have you go. But not more importantly, but Northeast Washington Trails, go on their website. They did a in fact, I had people compliment me, a phenomenal thing on winter sports at the golf course.
No way.
Wow.
And it's like a little YouTube video, you know, and it says it all right there.
All right.
I mean,
And that happens just on the weekends, right?
just on the weekends,
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All right. Free sledding.
Our logging got done while I was gone, so we don't have to worry about, you know, loggers out there. And I can tell you at my house, I probably have 25 to 30 inches of snow on the level ground.
Wow, that's
you
still
know,
a good bunch.
So it's a good bunch.
Still be a good weekend to go out and have some fun before the
Great
snow's
weekend.
gone.
Yeah, especially if the sun, you know, the sun's supposed to be out like it's supposed
Sunday, 52 projected
Yeah.
town
Wow.
temperature with sunshine.
So you could be
Yeah.
sledding in T-shirts.
to. Yeah, well, before we go, I got a really, I think, kind of a funny story. You know, our grounds foreman's Ron May, and so this is the time of year we start gearing up, you know, and one of the things we do is we call it blowing of the greens. So we go out and they snow blow the greens to get the snow off them so that the ice underneath will melt so that the greens don't get fungus, basically, so they dry out fast the rest of the course. And so Ron calls me up yesterday. He goes, "Mike, we got a little bit of an issue here." And I go, "You know, okay, what?" And he says, we have a brand new snowblower thanks to Hartel's.
All right.
No, not thanks. We wrote the check, but they had it, you
All
know.
right.
But and he says, I get out there, and it's adjustable. It's on tracks and blah blah blah. And he says, I went through and I left a foot of snow on the green for the first run around the green, just a circle, and then I dropped it down to we leave about 2 inches. And he says, I went around. And he says, man, this is taking forever. And I walked back and looked, and the snow is deep enough. All I could see is about 6 inches of the chute off the top of the snowblower.
Oh.
So we're actually looking forward for a little bit of melting so we can get out and do our
Get
work.
it ready.
Yeah.
I suppose because you guys want to open as soon as you can, get the snow off the course.
Yeah,
right?
my guess is right now we're probably mid-April. You know, last year we didn't get open to April 22nd. And it's probably not going to be a whole lot different this year. I mean, we got, if not as much
The
or
snow
more.
disappeared earlier last year.
It did. Yeah, exactly. And our problem up there is we've got a lot of shaded areas, you know, because there's a lot of trees up there. And so there are parts of it that really needs the warmer weather, not so much the sunshine to get taken care of. And, you know, the nice thing up there, it's all sand underneath, so it does drain really fast. So we don't have so much a mud problem. But yeah, but right now, this will be a great weekend because if it continues warming up like it is, then we'll have to shut it down because we're going to get people back on course and things like that. So.
All right, and it's free, so take advantage of it. There you go.
Yeah,
all right, thanks for everything today, Mike. We appreciate it. We'll see you in a couple weeks, right?
That's right.
All right.
To be back in
all right,
a couple
Mr.
weeks.
Mike Bentz, Chewelah Chamber of Commerce, thanks for everything you do. He also does some stuff up there at that golf course and bosses people around once in a while. You kind of said you were fading out of that, though, right?
I'm working at it, as you know. Yeah, and kudos to you. I'm down in Cabo, and I whip up the internet and watch the Jared and Jason show.
Filling in for you.
Fill it in.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I wish I had that good a quality internet in my house sometimes. I mean, I'm sitting there watching it, and I told Jared, because I saw him on Friday, and I says, Jared, you got to get more animated.
I'm lucky I got Jared on the radio now a couple times because I had tried for about 3 or 4 years to get him on the radio, and he was just, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And tried to get him to do news. And I was thinking he just didn't like us. And then he pretty much, you know what, Brandon's got it pretty good. He does a lot of stuff here. And I told Jared the other day, I said, I really appreciate you paying Brandon to work at the radio station. That's another great example of Chewelah.
Yeah, that's right. I pay people to do stuff I don't want to do.
But I think it's awesome. You know, that's his employee, and he lets them spend. You know,
he shares him with us.
He does. Yeah. I bet you he's some weeks maybe even more, but I bet you he spends at least 3-4 hours a week down here volunteering at the radio station. Thank you, Jared.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Don't forget, it is membership renewal month. We are on low power. You've got lots of ways to listen. We've kind of cleaned up the website and pointed those more out to you and easier to get to. You can listen on Alexa. You can listen on a couple of different apps, which are called what, Gene?
TuneIn and Radio Deck.
That's right. Also figured out some new stuff. So Android phones can listen right off our webpage, which has always been kind of cool. I've got it set up now. When you go to the live page, the web feed will automatically start playing if you're on a PC. If you're using a smartphone, you need the Puffin browser to watch video if you're not like using YouTube or something. And now the morning show, as you noticed if you were watching today, we're live every morning on YouTube with the morning show. So you got
that is
some ways.
At KCHW Tube, right?
Yeah, KCHW Space Tube. And it's kind of handy if you're headed into Spokane, you're you're hitting Loon Lake, we're getting staticky, and you want to hear the rest of what Mike's got to say. You could just have logged right on to YouTube and listen to it live as you were driving. So a few easy ways until we get back up to power, which things are looking good.
How's the fundraising going for the tower?
I have my volunteer. We had the emergency meeting, you know. Right. So I wanted everybody to. We had a misprint in the paper that was totally accidental or whatever, and I just wanted everybody saying the same thing, and everybody knows the facts and everybody's saying the same thing, and then we had like a fundraising. Idea brouhaha, and we came up with a couple things we think we can do to make some quick cash. I've got a very popular regional artist that's trying to find a date where they could come do a show for us. Okay. So there's a bunch of interesting stuff on that. The staff really wants to do a mooch calendar. I don't think it'll sell. But,
a mooch calendar and then moochandise. Instead of merchandise, it's moochandise.
But I said, I don't think that's going to sell. And the staff argued with me. And then Ryan Morris said, I'll buy 10 calendars of that cat right now. So we're trying to
add $100 a piece.
Add $100 a piece. And I figured if we get stuck with a bunch of calendars, I'll just give them away with memberships as a free gift. And get a calendar of the cat.
I don't think you realize how popular mooch really is.
She's very photogenic too.
Yes,
so
she is.
I already snapped. In fact, we could show.
We have I have to admit, I even have a ton of pictures of Mooch, and she's
really?
not even my cat.
Yeah, her phone's full of them.
Right?
So
okay.
that's her first shot for the calendar. That's pretty good, isn't it?
That is a good shot.
That is a good shot. Pretty impressive. And I think she will appreciate it because it's very flattering and does not show how fat she is. So I'm trying to be sensitive in the photos I take of her.
Because she's a rotund kitty.
She's a rotund kitty.
It's curvaceous. Yeah. Let's say that she's curvaceous.
Yeah, we used to have a cat like her. We used to call her the sweeper.
Because she cleaned the floors when she walked by.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was trying. So I got out. We have a nice, a very nice camera that was purchased for us by the Historical Society, and a long time ago, in cooperation with the museum. Okay, so they kind of all put together and got us some filming gear. So I got it out and been snapping pictures of her, and she tried to get me to stop working by laying across some paperwork. So I got a picture of that, and that's like April. After she tried to get my attention, she started to doze off, and she dozed off on top of all my paperwork right beside a pen, so it made a cute, shot.
Yeah.
And
Tech season.
Then yesterday she was out in the sunshine, and I was snapping some rapid fire photos, and I got a picture that's just her front two paws coming around the corner of a car, and the sun's behind her, and it's casting a shadow, and her shadow looks like Batman. So it's just her 2 foot, her 2 feet, and then the shadow looks like. I thought there's October. So there you go. So yeah, we're putting together a little calendar. That's the goofy one.
It's funny how we came up with the idea, and you're just going crazy with it.
So, and then within probably about a week, before the end of the month, we're gonna do a couple of what I call donut stops, and that's where we'll pick a spot on a Saturday and we'll set up, and we'll give you free donuts and try to get you to buy our raffle tickets for a big 50-50 raffle. We figured that was the best thing we could do to put some cash in our pocket really fast. And I remember one time we did a 50-50 raffle. It got up about $1,200. We drew the winner, and the next day the winner came in and gave me their half. So you never know how a 50-50 raffle can work out.
Well, a lot of people do that. I mean,
Yep. Well, and at the donut stop, there's going to be membership forms.
That's right.
Lots of membership forms for people to sign up and get those.
I updated the form last night. Also put a link to it on our Facebook page. So if you want to go ahead and get a membership or renew yours early, please do.
So what the membership's $100 a year?
For businesses, it's $102.70 a year.
Okay.
All right. And I know we have over 50 organizations and businesses in town. I think we have 25 members. So there's a few of you out there that you can cough up $100. And for a business, you're on our website in rotating banners in a couple different spots where people can listen. You're also, when there's no DJ, you're on the webcam. You're scrolling, and I don't think people realize. I think we have just as many listeners that use the webcam feed, whether they're watching, they might think you're cute and watch today, or just listening, that we have just as many watching online there. I mean, we've had it up now for over 2 years. We have 46,000 views. That's a lot of people coming back and back and back and back.
Yeah.
So
well, and $10 or $100 a year is $10 a month. It's $2.50 a week, which you break it down by the day. From a business standpoint, where else can you get that kind of exposure for 35, 40 cents a day?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's what just is mind-boggling to me about a lot of things in Chewelah from a promotional standpoint. If you want to talk about a bargain, KCHW is probably one of the best bargains.
Thank you.
For a promotional for your business that I can think of. I mean, I get people that because the Rusty Putter's on there, that consistently that's where they've heard that. And so
cool.
So if you take a look at your listenership, you take a look at your viewership, and you start putting those together, and then the little things that happen around town, like your concerts and things like that are all exposure for the radio station. I would challenge any business out there. Where else can you get that value of that $1 for $2.50 a week?
Thank you.
Can't buy,
And I think it's that's a membership, for the whole year. Sponsorships and programming, what you do for the Rusty Putter is different.
A little bit more.
You get a lot more bang for your buck there,
but
too.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's 6 days a week.
6. Yeah, we don't do any announcements on Sunday, but program sponsors 6 days a week. So our basic package on that is one a day for the month. and I think that this year it did go up to 125.
Yeah, there again.
It's so basic. We don't call them commercials; it's underwriting. But that sponsorship, you're getting one a day for the entire month, and they rotate, so it's not aired at the same time every day. So as the maximum amount of people can hear it, and I think you'd be hard pressed to go find that rate anywhere else, even in Colville.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's by far
as a new potential sponsor yesterday looked at the rate card and he said, "Wow, this is dirt cheap."
Yeah.
And I thought in my head, I wish everybody
Well, you
felt
remember
that
when
way.
when I met you, when I was in Seattle, I'm trying to think, is it KVO or KGVO or something? It was $1,000 a week.
$1,000 a week.
A week.
Yeah.
For me to basically do the same thing there. A week.
A week.
A week.
And I'm talking 125 a month.
A month.
A month.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things about it too is people like sometimes with that kind of, and I think it's the same even for the newspaper. A lot of times you're not necessarily, let's say as a business, and I need some more business. Oh, I need people coming through the door. So I'm going to place some ads. And they place those ads and don't really see maybe the results they want. And they went, oh, it didn't work. What I think they got to realize in that newspaper print and stuff like that is it's the mnemonic that it leaves in your mind.
Exactly.
And somebody sent it to me one day, and it's let's use Dawson's as an example. You don't need gravel every day of your life, but they sponsor programming here in the radio station, and now it's been a couple years later, and you need some gravel, and you've always been a fan of the radio station. Who's the first person you're going to call?
I've always believed
stats
that.
say like 82 in public radio, at least 82% of the listeners are more likely to shop with a sponsor of the radio station because you're members of the same tribe, you're supporting the same public service, and the same group of people, and all that kind of stuff.
Repetition actually
hearing it all the time
breeds comfort.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing too, is if you do that over a period of time, that tells you they're still in business, they're still paying their bills, obviously, that they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't supporting the community, especially in a small community like this. And so I've always believed in my entire career that if you're going to put an advertising campaign together, it's not one shot. You need to put a campaign together that for name recognition over a period of time. And because I couldn't measure what you guys do for the Rusty Putter. I mean, I can't do that, but I can measure it based upon comments that I get.
People are hearing it.
Yeah, I know people are hearing it.
Cool.
It's kind of like once I get taught up and running, we'll be doing some changes. I already know that for the Rusty Putter. Well, one of the ways to do that is to get it to they already recognize the restaurant. So now I can do tags. I can bring on other things.
Sure.
That type of thing. So yeah, I think any business that doesn't seriously look at it in a small community like this with a good name is they need to relook at their marketing budget. So that's
thank you.
My personal
and I
opinion.
did not tip him to say that.
No,
Not
and
at all.
we didn't even beg him for it. He just offered it.
And I don't think
Thank
I
you.
mention it enough on the radio, because I think people need to remember it if they listen to the radio. So we've got Dawson's, Sand and Gravel, DTI Ready Mix, Dr. Kolstad, Ecliptics Internet, Valley Drug, Rusty Putter, Sedities, the Kiwanis, the Chamber of Commerce, the Independent, Kathy's Attic, Bradley's, Dragonfly, the new Health and Wellness Center, Bill Schausenbach, Hartel's, Chewelah Floor and Wall, the Huckleberry Press. These are all businesses that are on the air right now. A couple of those are barters, where we're getting some service or maybe trading out some form of advertising or something like that. So that works for us. But those core businesses here in Chewelah, they have all been with us for years. And you'll take, let's take Dawson's, Dr. Kolstad, Valley Drug, Seti's, and Kiwanis. Let's see if I'm missing anybody here.
Chewelah Floor and Wall.
And Chewelah Floor and Wall. Been with us since I think the first month. We're talking 7 years. 7 years. These businesses have supported public radio in Chewelah. If it wasn't for those businesses I just named, there would be, and the members, because that's about half our budget. But if it wasn't for those businesses right there, we would not be on the air for the past 7 years. We could not do it. those businesses, we have a budget. When you hear this, Mike, you'll probably faint because you've been in business most of your life. We survive on a budget of $15,000 a year. It does not give us enough to buy new equipment, anything. When the transmitter catches fire, it takes us off the air.
Right.
You know, because that's what we run on. But we would not. That is all. That's the thing that makes this heartwarming for me. It is all done by the people that live here, whether it's your neighbor, you know, sending us in $25, whether if it's your neighbor showing up here and does a radio show to entertain the masses, or whether it's a local business doing some sponsoring and getting a membership.
Right.
If it wasn't for those things happening and basically the goodwill of the people that live here, there would be no radio.
Right.
So,
Right.
So.
Nope.
Yeah,
No, you guys do a great job.
Thank you. And you do too. Thanks for everything you do. We carried on way too long. We could probably go the rest of the day and just keep talking, but people probably want us to shut up. All right. Thanks for listening. And, Gene, we're way past, so we're done for today, too.
Okay,
right?
yeah, because I got things to do today.
You do?
It's because I could finally get out of my driveway today.
She's got to go practice some of those moves on that minivan.
Actually, I think if I don't get dog food today, my dogs will start eating me. So, yeah.
Soylent Green?
I fed the last of the dog food yesterday, and I'm like, I really need to get to town.
You are the other Soylent Green.
No, they actually will just go, hunt a rabbit down or something.
That's okay. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7:15 with your KCHW Morning Show live from Chewelah, Washington. I'm Scott.
I'm Gene.
And who's that big guy? Yeah, that's right. He's Mike. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Here's Supertramp.